get started. I just sent out the link so that way, and I'll put it back in the chat again. This will make a copy of the instructions in your drive.
So, hi everybody. Hopefully this will be useful to you. We did a workshop similar to this, John and I, during winter breakout, where we only had access at that time to a sandbox in Brightspace. But the process is really the same. I mean, it's very, very similar. So as John said, he shared the instructions with you. You have to first be logged into Blackboard. So the first step is to make sure you're logged into Blackboard.
And we can actually do that.
Yeah. So either me or John would log into Blackboard.
Okay, I can do it.
Sure. And most of the time we'll spend today or this afternoon, we'll be waiting for one of these systems to do something. So the actual steps are really quick and easy to accomplish. So when you're in Blackboard, you want to obviously be in a course, whatever course that you want to test out, this export import business. So just like John is, just pick a course.
I'm going to pick one of my courses from the fall.
And in the left pane on your screen, the control panel, you have some course tools. So if you look at them, somewhere you should be able to see I should probably look at my own instructions, right? Yeah, so we're looking for packages and utilities. That's what we're looking for. So probably not course tools.
Not course tools, right? Packages and utilities.
Yeah, so there we have the idea of export, archive courses, and so on. And we can definitely choose export course.
So yeah, export the package.
Yeah, export the package. Yeah, the instruction says course, so that's going to be cleaned up. So I do suggest clicking the calculate size thing too after you figure out what you want to copy. But I like to copy everything. So
yeah, so
that's
in this course, it's 1.77 megabytes. So you're allowed a gigabyte. So you could export 50 of these.
So this is not too bad. This will fit. It will let us do it. So we're good.
And I would suggest that you copy the files as well as the links, because the links are going to all be broken when we move out of Blackboard. So make sure you choose to copy the links and include copies.
Yes.
Yeah. And then calculate the size.
So the 1.77 is really small, right? Most of mine are like 57 meg or 58 meg or something. But to get to 2 gig, you really have to work hard. In fact, it's likely that you made a mistake in developing your content in that, and don't mean a bad thing about this, but you really don't want MP4 files, a whole like 50 MP4 files with
or videos
in your courses anyway. So all of mine point to where the video is in YouTube or Panopto or whatever. So I certainly recommend that, as that's just a side note, but generally it's best practice to not necessarily upload those files actually in the course. So I select all, as John just did.
I'm going to unselect this only because it's a Lumen Learning package that would have to be reinstalled in Brightspace. Yeah. But in general, select all will work.
Yeah, I don't use those other things, so it doesn't tend to matter in my case, but you click submit, as John is showing you, and that gets things started. So while we're waiting for this, and we're going to be waiting for this, let's see if anybody has any questions that they want to ask us or things they want us to explain better.
Hi, John and Ramin. Because I'm trying it at home, I'm not got the bandwidth, so I may be breaking up here. In one of the earlier sessions today, they commented that for the self-migration, there's a 1 gig limit and not a 2.
Yeah, it changed. There's a 2 gig import size on Brightspace, but there's a 1 gig export now on
Oh.
Blackboard. We were just told this morning,
Okay.
although, yeah. But
Yes.
there aren't many, unless you put in a lot of videos, which was always a bad practice. Most courses aren't going to be
Yeah,
that.
you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to worry there.
I think it was Teresa who recommended, or Kathy who said, if you do have something that's over 1 going towards 2, to ask them to do it for you, because they can.
Larger
that
courses
behind the
can be
scenes.
done in that batch enrollment, in that batch transfer process. But for most, 99% of course, more than that, it's not going to, this is going to work fine.
Yeah, I think part of my motivation and in wanting me and John to do this was that, we have probably 800 courses that will need to move over. So, I mean, the more that some of us could do with our own stuff, the better it'll be on the staff in being, responsive to those who can't move their courses.
And
right?
by default, the only classes that will be moved will be those that are taught asynchronously online, as
Exactly.
a fully online course. The rest, they will do it if you file a request with them, but otherwise, most people are expected to do it on their own.
Yeah,
And they will provide help when needed.
and we think it's easy enough to do, so that's why we're showing you. Is everybody okay with this so far? And, you can click that refresh thing, and whenever it's done, it'll definitely show up on your archive set.
It may take a few minutes because there's a lot of this going on through SUNY.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it always takes a few minutes. Believe me, I've never had it be instantaneous or anything. So
In the meanwhile, we can take a look at Brightspace.
yeah, let's log into Brightspace.
So
We're
this
gonna go there.
is what it's going to look like once everything's ported over. I have 34 notifications from today from students who are working in the course. You get these nice little panels, one for each of your classes. What you probably have now already in Brightspace is something that looks like this, where the courses will be inactive by default. I only have 2 courses here, but one of them will say up to 400
So
students.
just hang on one second, John. Just in the instructions that I sent you folks, the D2L Brightspace link is www.oswego.edu/mylearning. Usually, and that redirects to SUNY's space. So just make sure you look at your instructions on where to start with, and then you just log in with your LakerNet ID, which for me is just Mohammed, right? It's not my full email address, just Mohammed and your password. That should definitely get you where you need to be. And at that point, we're hoping, like John is, and I did earlier, you will see your course from the fall.
So in the summer, you'll get, well, my summer course is right here. You click on it and this is what it will look like. You have an announcement panel, you have a series of widgets. Each module in your course, what used to be a block or a folder in your course, becomes one of these, and you can pick images for the top. The recommended size for them, I believe, is 200 by 1200, I believe. So it's a 6-to-1 ratio. So you have to be careful in trying to find things that, where the ratios work, and it will compress it depending on the size. And if you really want to get fancy, you can throw in a little bit of information and you get this nice revolving panel.
Yeah.
But by default, it doesn't do that.
That's pretty cool.
And when let me show it from a student side, just so we'll see what it looks like for students while we're waiting for these things to process. This is the equivalent of that little student view we saw before.
Yeah, I love that opportunity to see that.
And then this is where all the course information is, the syllabus, how you will be evaluated type things, and any welcome messages. And you notice, by the way, here's an announcement. I did make a mistake, but you notice how the announcements have my names right here. We do have replace strings again, so that you can automatically have material that seems to be personalized for the students by just putting in curly braces the word first name, and then it will replace it with the student's first name. You don't have to do that, but it just creates a little more personalization.
That is good.
And then in here, this is what it looks like. We've got some nice new features. One of the nice things about it is when students open the first module, they get everything here. This is an example of a new tool we have, which is an Accordion Tool, where you can just put in content there and it will just open up this way. And it lets you put a lot of information compactly and students can sort through it. And then the navigation that people will typically use is just going through like this, working one thing at a time. This is the textbook type materials, the adaptive learning platform. And then when students do that, they can just go on to the next, or they can go through the whole list. And we also have these checklist features now. By the way, has anyone gotten the email that the courses have exported?
And you can always go back to the export archive and refresh too. Sometimes there's a lag from the email as well.
So I figured while we're waiting for that, we can just take a look at some of the
Yeah.
nice new features.
I think I'm learning
It's,
as I'm standing here. It's good.
The checklist feature is really nice and students check it off themselves. So once they complete something, they check it and it's a little reminder. And we also have, again, we lost a lot of abilities when we moved from
Angel
to Blackboard, and we get them back in a whole lot more. One of the things we have is we can create automations, intelligent agents they're called here, where basically you can check to see if students have logged in a certain period of time. And if not, you can send them an email, again, personalized by name saying, you know, hi, I see that you haven't logged in the last week. It's essential that you do this to maintain, you know, to be able to keep up with the work. Or if students have scores below a certain threshold or above a certain threshold, you can create customized emails that go out. And once you create them, you can apply them to multiple items. So you can use the same agent and apply it to any weekly assignments you have very easily, which is going to be really, really nice.
That would be helpful.
Let's go back over here. And basically, when students have this checklist, they can just go forward to the next thing. So here's some little mini lectures I have, you know, just to give some students a review materials, which I tell them they can use as needed. A little bit of regression analysis. And then there are the discussion forums. One thing that you will find that's different, and this is something I think they've talked about a little bit in some of their other workshops, is there is a little bit of a change in concept and terminology here. The forums are actually a container now. And instead of the forums being the individual discussions, the discussions are called topics. And a common thing to do is if you have multiple discussions in multiple categories, the forum is the category, and then the topics are the individual discussions that you might do on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So I happen to have two in here. I have a content discussion every week, and I also have a metacognitive cafe. And basically, the topics are individual instances of that, but it creates a nice uniform format, which is a little bit different, but it works pretty nicely. And you could just create one for each. And now, have people gotten their emails yet? Oh, there it is. So here's mine. So we can go on with the process here. How is it going for everybody else? Refresh your screen if you haven't. Do you have the downloads?
I already managed to download.
Oh, you already got the download. Okay, well, so once you get it, just click on it and download it. And it's just gone into the download folder twice now because I was a little slow to respond. So has everyone done that? Any delays, problems? Either just open your mic up or open chat or type something in chat.
I'm just watching you, John. I'm sort of following along, but I'm with you.
Okay, so we've downloaded it now. It's gone into the download folder. Now we would go over into Brightspace and we can go back to Brightspace now. And now we're going to go in and what do the instructions say next?
Well, in the upper right corner, you have the little settings type of an icon, right? So if you click that, it turns out the import is the only option you have. And you are actually in this particular context copying. What did my instructions say?
Now, what I want to do, I don't know if I need to do this at this stage, but just to be safe, I am going to go to my fall course And they need to do a little bit of work on the section so we know which one is which. One of these is online and one is a massive section. But I would suggest going to your course first. I don't know if that's needed. We'll see as we go through. But we go down here, import, export, copy components, and we will go down to, and it will eventually respond. Here we go. So what we want to do is we want to,
Search offerings, I think you're,
don't we go,
or, yeah,
oh, the course to copy. Yeah. Search for offering, and then we would go down to the,
no, I think I took you to the wrong place. Let's back up.
yeah, I think we have to, don't we have to do the import components?
Yeah, we do import components. is
Yeah.
Where we go.
Okay, import components, and then we want to upload this, and that's going to be right here because I did download it twice. And there we go. And let me bring this up so we can get down to the bottom of this. And
You got to scroll more, I think somehow.
yeah,
Do a control minus or something to make
get
it
rid of this.
small.
There we go. Import all components. It's a Windows thing.
So then we just wait, because what now is happening in Brightspace is converting it figures out this Blackboard, and then it starts converting that content, which is in a zip form, right, to the way it wants it. And then it builds the components. So this one takes a good 10, 15 minutes sometimes before it's finished. It looks like it's working way faster for John than it does for me. But
Well, this one is apparently a smaller class than yours, but
yeah, 1.7.
I did trim this one down.
1.7 meg is much better than 57 meg, probably why it's so much quicker. But it's really good. I mean, I don't know how they made it this smart, but it's really smart in the way it moves the material.
It actually does better than the import when we went from Angel to Blackboard.
Oh, Angel Blackboard was terrible. You kind of had to rebuild everything. All the links were broken, and the material had weird stuff, characters in them that you had to go back and clean out.
The main difference that I've seen is that Desire to Learn, Brightspace, has a very clean format and a very clean look and feel, and the HTML code that's built is really clean and elegant, and it looks nice. The stuff that's imported from Blackboard will come over looking as bad as it did in Blackboard. So it's not going to be worse, but you probably will want to go through and clean it up,
Yeah.
which is why some people are just choosing to copy and paste individual pages
Yeah,
over
as they build.
to get rid of all that crap, the HTML crap with all the extra formatting that really shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Yeah, for people like me, we have a lot of additional files, Java files and other things that certainly when they all come, I don't have to keep bringing them in.
In the course that I'm using right now, I had 228 files that had to be converted. So I am taking those files and cleaning them up week by week as I go through it. So
Yeah,
this course is a little bit cleaner, partly because I'm using Lumen Learning's
Yeah.
Waymaker package for many things.
and it's already importing, so should be done pretty quickly.
And all the folders will become those blocks that we saw on the earlier screen once it's all together. Well, actually, we're importing it, but I think we now have to assign it to the course, or maybe by selecting the course that was done. I don't remember. I just did this last week.
Yeah,
I
when
got
you do
access.
it in the course, it'll be in that particular course.
So it's a good thing I switched from the active course.
I was gonna
because-
say, are you sure you weren't? But then I remembered that you switched to something else, so that's perfectly okay.
So make sure you switch to the right course shell. And
Yeah,
one problem, and this is a problem SUNY-wide that they need to work on at some point, is the naming conventions are really bad, that they don't identify it by section numbers. You notice they had two courses, one that ended in 1 and one that ended in 2.
I have no idea what that
That-
means.
I think it may be the CRN numbers. But I'm not sure.
My course says Introduction to Database, which is a good name for it.
But it will not tell
but
you the
it's not-
semester or
it's
the
not
term
ISC
or the
329,
instructor.
It's not it's one of those cross list situations, so it doesn't give any of that detail. So I'm not sure how the kids are supposed to figure this out. Hopefully
Well,
it
they
looks
will be
better.
assigned. So they will be assigned to the sections and it will show up.
But they'll see all their courses, right? So
They will.
They gotta know.
Mine
enough.
show- Hi, guys.
What-
Mine shows, this is Ann again. Mine shows the CRN at the end of its,
Okay, so it is a CRN. Because of course, we always think of our courses in terms of the CRN numbers
Yeah.
instead of the section numbers,
Yeah, we
Right.
memorize our CRN numbers,
Yes.
clearly.
along with our SUNY ID numbers. The SUNY global ID number, which underlies all this, which none of us have ever seen, but it is hidden in the database behind this.
So the last time I used the CRN ad was when we had the NICE system, that was the phone registration system, where you had to say, click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the CRN to choose the course you want to register for.
That was
That's the last time I ever used the CRN.
which was shortly after we were using the Hollerith cards, not much longer.
No, that was painful. That was extremely painful, for sure.
So your courses should all be converting. Does anyone have any problems so far?
Mine was just slow to upload before the conversion, just because my poor computer from home is running you guys in Zoom and doing this.
Yeah, it always takes a little time. I don't know if I've ever done it in less than 10 minutes, and I've done about 4 course uploads, mostly testing. Just while we're waiting, earlier today, since now I have access to my course in Brightspace, I uploaded, the last time I taught database was spring of 2011. And that was done in Angel. So I was able to take the cartridge that backed up at that time and upload that into Brightspace. And it actually looks pretty good. Nice blocks of the different menu items that I had before, using their titles. I'm sure I'll be changing it, but it doesn't look too bad.
When I uploaded one of my labor economics courses, I had some announcements that dated back to the Angel days that hadn't been, I haven't
They were
used in
still
years.
there.
But they had the Angel name substitutions in them, and that automatically translated into the Brightspace replace strings, which was really impressive.
Oh, I have to see that. That's
There's
the.
a chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
there is something in chat. Okay, sorry about that.
It just popped up.
Oh, yes, you need to have the shell in D2L to be able to move it. But if you should have that shell, but if you don't, you could always use a sandbox, sign up for one of the sandboxes. But you should have your shells for the fall right now. Oh, and if it's not being taught now, download the archives, store them in Google Drive or Dropbox or on a hard drive or somewhere safe where you're not going to lose them, and then you can just install them later.
Yeah, no, absolutely download now, because
We'll lose
I'm sure they'll find a way to get it for you in the spring of 23 if they had to, but why wait? Just download them now.
And they did say that there will still be access to Blackboard for faculty in the fall, but not for students. So if you need, for when you're creating your spring courses, you will be able to go into Blackboard, it sounds like, because the contract goes through December. Students can't get there, but you can, and you can go back and download anything then.
There's another message and we finished.
Okay.
I think.
So it looks like the import has finished. So we can now view the contents. Now, there was an option of view and managing dates. I'm not going to do that, but you could choose that then. So if you want to update the dates, if this was a course you last offered a year ago, you can increase the dates by, is it 366 or 364? You either add or subtract one, I forgot what it was, and it will automatically adjust all your due dates. Although this year it's a bit strange since we're starting in the middle of the summer for the fall or something, but.
So I have to make a comment. My course, unlike John's course, actually comes out in those beautiful boxes.
Oh, well, mine has two. If I go to content.
Okay.
Well, I have to go back up to the level. I
So
think.
this
The
is
course home.
definitely as ugly as Blackboard.
Here we go.
But mine came over like this. Yeah, it looks a lot better.
Now, because I had folders within content, in the content folder, there are the other folders.
Okay.
And you want to move them all up to a higher level.
Yeah. Definitely.
And by the way, doing that turns out to be really kind of straightforward. They're recommending not having a separate course information. That just becomes a block. And what you do basically is you just shift it up and it moves out of that hierarchy like that. We'll open that again. Oops, actually a better way of doing it, there's a number of ways of getting to things here, is going to course admin. And then it will put everything, if you go to course builder, it will show you the hierarchy of your course. And now you notice I had these content subfolders. What's recommended is that you create those different modules there. And so you just go down there and you just simply drag it until you see that line and it goes right there. You do that for each of those. And then you now will have those nice little rectangles for each of your old course modules. And you just keep doing it until you're done. And it gets easier. The first time I did this was a little tricky, but you get used to it. And it's a nice way of rearranging things, but a flat hierarchy is a little bit easier to work with. And it makes the navigation a little bit easier for students too. We get those nice panels. Subfolders in here, and you may want to do the same thing and arrange them, but basically you can arrange it like this, and then we can get rid of that whole content thing. And this was where I was putting in my test for I created math with basically to deal with some academic dishonesty issues. I dumped all my questions in there and checked them, but I didn't want students to have access to those questions. And so I'm going to get rid of now the content folder and everything that was in it. You just scroll down, remove it, be careful, it does warn you. And now if I go back to the content, it's going to have all those nice little boxes. Well, when I go back and look at it from the course home view, and there it is, and here are all those boxes. Yep. You can change the image, make them look nice, and so forth. How's it going? Any questions? Oh, in the chat, yes. And changing the dates is easy, but again, we had the same tool there, but you may want to do it first. And by the way, if you mess it up, you can always do it again. And we do have some, we should have some sandboxes, but yeah, some empty shells that you can use to test it and then copy it over.
Yeah, I recommend using, if you can't find the link, I'm sure we can get it to you, and using the sandbox that Suni created allowed everybody to create an account. And if you want to test it out, you can always use one of the sandboxes they made for us.
I think, I'm not sure if everyone has this because I'm part of the pilot, but you may get the conversion semester thing, which are some empty shells that you could dump things in and play with it and then copy them over. So you may not. Okay. But again, if things are if you mess things up, you can always go through, delete it all, and then just do it again. I had to do that because the course that was copied for me was from a couple of years ago in the spring for a summer course. So it took a little while, but I deleted the whole thing, exported it, imported it, and had it active just a couple of days later.
Yeah, but by and large, I think it's important for everybody to learn how to do this, because even if they do move your course for you, you might change your mind about what you moved. And it's important to be able to go back to Blackboard. If something is missing from what was exported, you can just export that and import that piece for yourself and then move from there.
Or copy and paste it if it's just a single thing. And you should, if you don't have this yet, you probably will be getting it soon. Are the asynchronous modules in your courses yet?
Yes, they are.
They are, okay. I would suggest, when you have a bit of time, going through each of them. And it shows you a little bit about some best practices in terms of how to organize your courses. and just go through one by one, and you notice I got 100% on all those.
You're
But
such a good
and-
student.
well,
John.
that's because you can take the questions over as many times as you need until you get
Okay.
100%. But and then you do end up with a course completion certificate eventually once you complete all the modules. But the modules are pretty well done, and the synchronous modules, the scaled webinars that SUNY does, covers the same materials, and they'll be adding more a little bit later with some advanced topics. But sign up for those; they're really helpful, and play with it.
All right. Any questions? We don't want to keep you. You're good.
If you get stuck on something, we'll stick around.
Yeah.
You can share your screen. We can help you through it.
So mine finished installing. If I go to the course home, I see the 3 content areas that came over. And then if I click on one of them, that's when I finally get that sort of left-hand list of all the content areas.
You want to share your screen, and we could take a look at it?
Let me see if my screen is clean enough to share. Yeah. Okay.
You can always share that window if you want, you know.
I will try. I'm on one laptop, so this looks.
Screens to share.
So I'll go to my course home. This is what I just did this afternoon.
Your computer is slow, Anne. Get your new one. Quantum
It was.
physics.
This is
I
the
love
new
that
one.
course.
And there are your modules.
This is the new computer. It was on sale, and now I know why. All right, so this is how it should look. The 3 content areas.
And I noticed you got a lot more in that third step because
Well,
you've
that's
got
because
234
that's all the
topics.
other resources. Yes, that's the real content. Yeah.
But you can always rearrange them and move them as needed.
Okay.
And a good way to view that is if you go up to the course tools and then choose course admin, you can ignore the rest. What a lot of campuses have done is they've just made it go directly to course admin because the list of other things are all within course admin.
Okay.
And there you go. And now, if you want to actually see the structure, click on Course Builder. There is a managed date there. So if you want to do the date change, you could use that. But go to the Course Builder.
This is good.
Okay.
And click. You can, click Start. You can get rid of the welcome page later if you want, but you could use that for now. The instructions are an ideal way of doing it, where you build a typical module and then you drag and drop files into the modules after you've copied them. But if we scroll down a little bit, so that's your first block, that first block on the screen.
Yeah. Well, each of those blue blocks are each of these 3 steps. So.
So if you click on the plus sign by step 3, you'll see all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Now, do you want all that other stuff in step 3, or do you want to move it into something else?
Well, eventually it could go into something else. I was just trying to, do the basic organization for my roadmap before I transferred it over.
If you look to the left, you have the outline tools, and that's where you would build an outline of a module. If you're building it from scratch, you would always start there. You'd sketch out an outline, get the basic structure with essentially placeholders for every item. And then you would go into the file manager and drag the files to it. But if you want to add something to it, if you want to add a new module for some of that material, you would go over to the left and you would hover over those things until you see which one. I'm pretty sure it's that top left one. It says create a module. So create a module, give it a name, and then you would drag the individual components, the individual files and items into that.
Okay. So Yeah, so you could see that I had a week by week, topic by topic thing from last fall. My goal is to make a new, better, improved thing for this year, making use of these tools.
Okay, well, let me answer PK's question. I shared a link that has instructions on how to import it, but you may want to actually import it directly into Desire to Learn.
He may be in the position to see the steps for the import. If you go back to your course, we can show him where the button is and so on.
Okay, yeah, let me share the screen again. I don't know if we finished with Anne's question there, though. Did we, Anne?
I think for now, I'm going to play.
Okay, so where you would go to import it would be right up here by the name, I think, is it the name?
No, it's
It's
the,
oh, you go to the course first.
yeah, you
Yeah.
got in.
So let's go to the course. We can't import it into the SUNY system.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't want you to overwrite theirs.
Prabhakar, you need to be in that course, empty course shell in the sandbox.
So I am going to go here. If you click here, it takes you to the top level menu. And I am going to go to, fall 2022. And I will just pick the other section. I think this one. I think this is, I'll have to look up which one is which because I do have different versions of the course.
So Prabhakar, in the upper right corner, do you see that settings
Here.
The gear.
gear thing?
Yep.
So that's the one where you click the.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And once you do that, at the bottom of that list, or is it at the bottom?
Actually,
of the list?
the top, yeah, the bottom of the list, you would import the components.
Yeah, so you click the import components there.
After selecting the course you want to import it to, and then just choose either copy all or select
And
them.
then you then upload and then you get it going on install.
Okay. Thank you.
It does a pretty nice job with it. The copy components from another org unit is if you want to copy from one course to another.
That's right. And
That's
you
like the
need
old
to
course
do that
copy.
from fall to spring, spring to fall, and so on.
Mhm.
Anything else for the good of the order, folks?
Work for
Maybe-
everybody.
Maybe show us how to undo it if we want to do it again.
Can I ask a different question also? There was a question that Michelle asked, I'm in the chat, and then I had asked yesterday, which is, is there a way to create an empty shell in D2L so that we can import a course that's not being taught in the fall, but we don't want to lose?
If you export the cartridge and store that in Google Drive or Dropbox or somewhere else, you can always import it at any point in the future. These common cartridges have been in use for about 15 years or so. So, the Blackboard import should continue to work for years ahead.
Gwen, I just should tell you that the course that I had exported was from spring 2011. That was exported from Angel, and it had been sitting there in my folder for that course for all of this time. And that's the one, because since I had not taught it for the last 10 years, that's the course that I imported this morning into Brightspace. So my recommendation is to definitely export every course you have and make sure it's somewhere solid, like as John said, either in Google Drive, or if you are confident about your hard drive not crashing, your hard drive. And then when the time comes, my hard drive backs up to Google, so I don't have to really think too hard about this. If I ever have to get my stuff back, I can, which is what I recommend everybody to do, actually. But as long as you download those cartridges, then whenever you teach the course again, you can just import that course following the brief instructions we gave you into the Brightspace course that you have.
Okay, thank you. And I also was curious about the question that Anne asked before I rudely overrode her, which was, how do you delete something you just did?
The audio here is not great. Could you restate that again? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Gwen, could you say it again?
Yeah,
It
say
was
it
a
again.
little muffled. It's,
Sorry, this was Anne's question, which was how do you, I think, but Anne, if I'm wrong, correct me. How do you get rid of something that you just added?
But I don't think there's a command that deletes everything, is there?
well, it's close and I had to do that. Let's
Okay.
go back
Let's
in.
see
Let
it.
me share.
I love to see that.
Yeah, let me share this. And I'm not going to do it in my active course because the
let's-
students who are taking the course would probably not be very pleased.
Yeah,
But
it will not be, no.
let me go back. If you click on this, it takes you to the top level menu. And let me go. This should take me to the top level. There we go. And now if I go to the fall 2022, I think this is the one I imported, if I remember.
Yes.
So what you can do there, yeah, there's my announcements in the fall. So you can go to content, and in content, it will show you all of your files. And you can, is this where you do it? Let's try bulk edit. Well, you can do it manually here by just clicking on each garbage, the garbage can, it will delete the whole module. But I did go to a file manager. There's many ways of doing this and I'm still learning.
But that's an easy enough way to do it though, right? I mean, you can just.
Yeah, if you just click on the garbage can, it will go.
If you have 4 modules, it's just 4 clicks and you got it.
Let me see if there's some, yeah, this, I can get rid of this. I'll get rid of the whole thing probably. And it does tell you, it gives you the option of removing it from the content in the course, but keep the files in the background for the file manager, or you can just delete it both from contents and get rid of all the files, which I just did. And then it's gone. But there was another way. It may have been from, let me try from course admin. And if you go to Course Builder, which is where you're going to be much of the time, well, I guess it's pretty much the same. If you go down to the bottom, you can remove any component, which could be a folder and any individual item. And you can do the same if you go back up to Course Admin.
So hang on. Can you go back to that?
Sure.
What happens if you click at the top level?
Yeah, so this would delete.
Will it?
It will not delete
No,
everything
it
because
doesn't
that's
have it.
like the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but any module you have or anything within it, you can delete.
Yeah.
And you can also do the same thing. If we go back to course admin, you could do the same for specific things. For example, if you go to your discussions, you could go in there and, well, this was a face-to-face class, so I didn't have many, but you can delete the discussions basically one by one this way. And I think there was a way of doing, I remember having a list where I did a select all and then chose delete. And I don't remember how I got
Well,
there.
if we figure it out, we'll let you all know. But you can definitely delete the stuff you brought up.
And the My Performance, by the way, will show you class progress. Now, I don't have any students in here, but it will show you, oops, I guess it's showing what my students will be already. They're already in there for the fall.
Yeah.
So they don't have any grades yet because they haven't,
Yes,
you know.
you're not breaking through, but you're
I
fine.
guess, yeah. So in any case, it will tell you how, when they last logged in, it will tell you what the grades are like. It will tell you how long it's since the last system access, and it will show you a little bar that shows how frequently they've accessed all the material. I didn't think they were in there yet.
Yeah, they've managed to figure that out.
Good.
Just yesterday, I think.
All right, I don't mean to monopolize this, but I don't really want to spend my whole summer working on this, so I'm asking lots of questions. So in Blackboard, there were ways to hide things from students that you wanted to see or use or eventually deploy, and you
Yes.
could also set things to have availability dates.
So basically, it's really easy to do. And if you notice, when we saw the student view, only the first module was visible. But when I go in, I see that there's a whole bunch of modules in my course. Students only get to see these two. And the way you do it is if you go back into the, well, there's a couple ways. But again, the most common way of doing it is going into course admin, going to course builder. And if you go to the modules, let me see. If I expand, I think it's right here. It's not. It may be in content. Let's try that. So if I go to content and I go to, let's say module, let me go to module 7. There's this little eye right here. And the eye is basically what you click on to make things visible or invisible. And so right now it's hidden. So the only things that are visible are the ones that do not have the slashed eye on them.
Yeah, so if you want your first module to show, you don't want that eye with a cross.
And the other thing you can do, and I actually have done this, I think here, is that you can set the access for each module. Did I? I didn't do it for the modules, but for example, for the discussions, you can choose the dates for them, or do you have to do that in? You may have to do that in the discussions because that's where I did it. Sorry about that. So that's not very, I don't want to confuse people there. But you do have, for individual items, you can set availability dates just as we could in Blackboard. And I have done that for all the graded part.
Want to show it to us?
Yeah, let's stop the share and let's see.
Yeah, let's look at your screen if you don't mind, Prabhakar, to share. Can we by any chance see the package too? If you may have to get out of this thing or be in the folder to see.
Or go back to Blackboard, because if there was a problem with the export, it would often give you a warning note.
Let's start by seeing your folder, your
Yeah,
Blackboard.
let me, so this is what, are you able, I'll stop share and I have to share this, I guess.
share something else. I'm pretty sure if you.
Yeah, no. So this is what the folder looks like. So if I go back, so this is what it did, export file. And when I go in, this is what, so as per instruction, I converted that into a zip file, the previous folder.
Yeah,
It should have come out as a zip though.
yeah, so it's, don't use the unzipped version, use the zip file.
You have to use it exactly as it exports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I converted it into a zip.
So what I'd suggest is you delete the export file, the folder, and
Okay.
import the zip file, because it's going to try unzipping it. And if it's already unzipped, it's going to get confused.
Or maybe that's what you were doing, Prabhakar. Did you try to import the zip one into Brightspace?
Or the folder. My guess is it's a folder.
So from the Blackboard, does it export as zip, right? No, right?
Yeah, don't use that file. In fact, you can delete that file. You need the zip file to import.
Yeah, the zip that comes out is what goes into Brightspace.
Okay, so I converted it. So are you suggesting that Blackboard export should be a zip on its own?
Yeah, Brightspace expects the zip file.
Yeah, so I tried to upload only the zip file.
Can we
I'll
now
try
switch to
again.
Blackboard? Let's switch to Blackboard to see what your archive looks like.
Okay, maybe I by mistake did not export the zip file. So I would take John's suggestion and delete.
Because if you chose a folder, it's going to get confused because it's going to try
Oh yeah,
unzipping
it doesn't know how to do it, for
But
sure.
you're right. It didn't know. First, I didn't read that instruction on zip and I tried to export and it was a folder and it would not accept. So only after I did convert that folder into a zip file, then
It should come out of.
It should have come as a zip file.
It should have come out as-
Oh, okay. Then I made a mistake in terms of exporting. So I'll go back and check and thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a zip, and it needs to then zip into Brightspace.
Yeah, because
So-
if you try rezipping it, then the manifest file is not going, the
Yeah,
header information is going to be
yeah,
different.
you
Okay,
definitely-
gotcha.
It really should do nothing.
All right.
Export, download that.
And then
export,
import
and then-
that zip file, and then it should work.
Okay, no worries.
Steps are actually negative in this context.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
If that doesn't work, let us know and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll be happy to jump on a call with you and make sure you do it right this time.
Thanks.
Of course.
I mean,
All right. Are we good, guys?
Any other questions?
It's
Thank
so
you.
good to see all of you. Go ahead, Ann. Thank you. See you later. Everybody looks so comfy at home.
I know. We need recliners here to do these.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
I feel like I've already learned so much about this.